Good afternoon, and welcome to Hutchinson Elementary's GoTeam meeting, where we will follow the agenda as it has been emailed to you and publicly noticed. I would like to remind everyone that this is a meeting of the GoTeam. Only members of the team may participate in the discussion. Any members of the public present are here to quietly observe. For members of the GoTeam, please identify yourself when you speak. I am pleased to call this meeting of the Hutchinson Elementary GoTeam to order at 4:33 p.m. Our first order of business is to call roll. The secretary will now call the roll.
Good afternoon. Please respond present when your name is called. Melissa St. Joy,
Present.
Jasmine Clark, Deidrina Steele,
Present.
Delisa May, I'm sorry, I messed up your name.
Present.
Akiti Atkinson, present. Janai Clark,
Here.
Ryan Dunn, Asia Phillips, Angeli Sullivan.
Present.
And for clarification, Ms. Atkinson, we're going to vote in Mr. Dunn. He shouldn't be in your official count as of right now. We're
Okay,
going to nominate and vote, but he shouldn't be in your official quorum count.
okay. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, you're gonna ask me about the quorum? All right, here we go.
All right. The team will only be able to take official action if a quorum is present. Is there a quorum present? A quorum is present. All right, action items. Our first order of business is to approve the agenda. This was provided to you and copies are here. Are there any changes to the agenda? May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I would like to make a motion to approve the agenda.
A second?
I second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand so the secretary can record your vote. All opposed, please say nay.
Any abstentions?
We will now review and approve. We will now review and approve the meeting minutes from our last meeting. The minutes have been provided to you. Are there any corrections? If there are no corrections, may I have a motion to approve the previous meeting's minutes?
Motion to approve the previous meeting's minutes.
Thank you. A second? Come on, somebody.
I'm second to approve the previous meeting minutes.
Thank you. All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions, please say abstain. Raise your hand or say aye.
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 Thank you. All right. We are now going to decide if we want to vote in a community member.
So you can open the floor for nominations.
I open the floor for nominations of a community member.
I would like to nominate Mr. Ryan Dunn. You can ask if there are any additional nominations.
Are there any additional nominations? If there are not,
I can speak on behalf of Mr. Dunn. Mr. Dunn owns a company called Basil Me. Basil Me has partnered with our STEM lab. He has done professional developments for our teachers, and it will be a continued partnership through the school to work with students as well as teachers, and incorporating into our STEM education. He was not able to be here today, but he was open to the nomination and looks forward to working with our team. And that's all I have to say about Mr. Dunn.
Thank you, Ms. St. Joy. Does anyone have any additional comments or questions about Mr. Dunn? All right. It is time for us to vote. Does anyone have a motion to vote in Mr. Dunn as our community member? I move that Mr. Dunn is voted in as a community member for Hutchinson Elementary Go Team. Is there a second?
I second that motion.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Any abstentions? Right. We will now move on to the next part of our agenda. Give me one moment, please. We are now moving to the discussion item on our agenda, the 45-day check-in and preparing for budget development.
Good afternoon. I will present the 45-day check-in plan and preparing for budget development. There are pieces of this presentation that will be added to our December meeting for us to get a total picture, but this is an initial conversation as to things we need to take into consideration for the budget. Please know that if I'm not looking at directly at the camera, it's because the presentation's on this side, but you guys are on this side of my screens. So graduation week, graduation rates are for high schools only, but we're going to talk about the continuous improvement plan, fall to winter map data. Again, we'll discuss the fall map data because we have not taken the winter yet. We're going to review the strategic plans, and we're going to order our priorities and rank them in order of importance. And that order of importance helps us to drive the budget discussion that we will have in late January, early February, meaning that what we discuss in our strategic plan are the things that we want our funds to go to. Timeline, we are now close to before winter break. So this is the information that we are covering. So the first thing we have is our continuous improvement plan. That's something that the district has in place for us. And it mirrors things that are in our strategic plan. Our continuous improvement plan focuses on small group instruction, and we will actually be doing reviews of that at principals meeting, the implementation. I can say that we have been implementing it with fidelity with the support of our instructional coaches here, as well as our outside district supports that come in. We have stayed in line with that, not only for our general ed, but also our ESOL and special education populations. As we go into the data, we don't have graduation reads, but this is where we were with fall MAC results. Essentially, when we take the winter, we're looking to grow from this, but this is our starting point as far as our proficiency rates. We have roughly 9% of our students were proficient in math. Hold on one moment. There's an error in my slides I want to fix. All right. I did the slides in PowerPoint and then uploaded them to Google Slides, so they did a little thing. But this is actually our reading data, with our highest number of proficient readers are currently in the fourth grade at 19%. We have roughly 10% in third grade and 14% in fifth grade. We're of course trying to increase those proficiencies. We are trying to get to at least 20% across the board. By the
Say, Joy, we can't see your screen anymore.
Okay, there you go. You got it? Give me a thumbs up if you can see it. All right. So this is where we are with our fall map results. In our mathematics, this is where we're moving. Right now, our third grade is performing the best, although it's a great number of developing. That means they have a strong potential to continue to move in this proficient space. So we're really excited to see about what they do in the fall. And that winter map testing window starts on December the 2nd. Our teachers have been working really hard to not only increase student proficiency, but demonstrate the student growth. And everybody has had goal conversations and growth target discussions with teachers and students. So for our map fluency, we'd like to lift the spaces in which we are exceeding expectations with the phonics, word recognition, and phonological awareness, but we also have several kids, high percentages of kids meeting, and we're trying to push those kids that are approaching over into the meets and the kids that are below expectations over into the approaching. What we have done, our Readers Are Leaders coach is assisting with an extra group of pull-out beyond that reading block to ensure that kids that need additional support are getting that to help us to close those gaps. And our teachers are implementing their district resources with fidelity during that time. So we are excited about the opportunity to see this movement with our students as well. This was our EOG data where we ended in reading last year. Again, when we got that 20% number and saying we're trying to increase as a school by at least 5%, it was the average of these proficiency scores and the does not meets, but this is where we ended at the end of last year, and this is where we ended in math. Again, I said based on that third grade data, they did pretty good with math ending last year. So we're hoping that those same teachers can move those kids. This is where we ended with math. The great thing is that when we look at the kids that this is last year's third grade, so these are the kids in fourth grade, at least 20% of them, if they stayed here, should be at least have a proficient base. And at least 15% of the kids in fifth grade should be at a proficient base. Our work is to continue to get the does not meet down and to continue to increase our proficiency. And science, we ended at 9% proficiency. Unfortunately, last year we had a teacher that was not feeling her best. So she was out for the majority of the year. We anticipate this science data jumping up dramatically because we have an amazing science teacher in place that is all things science. And we also have an amazing science teacher also in place for fourth grade science and social studies teacher. So our fifth grade teacher will also be getting stronger products, but the kids this year are getting a solid grasp of the science that we know, unfortunately, our kids last year did not get, and that was a little beyond our control. But this is where our science data ended last year. So we want to go back and say, what do you notice? What do you wonder? Based on the school's trends and data for MAP assessments to the end of the year assessment, were there any students or subgroups, grade levels that showed significant gaps or unexpected trends? basically, what did we see on this map data and the milestones, and what additional questions do you have? I can go back to any of the previous slides. I know for our Miss Steele, if you have any questions, the staff has definitely extensively discussed this with me inside and out. They know where they're going and what they need to do, but I do want to open the floor to any questions or noticings.
I
And-
don't have any, I'm sorry, I don't have any questions right now.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Steele.
Thank
And
you.
we're going to be using this information as we go into the next couple of slides. But the thing I wanted to lift as well, we know coming back from the pandemic that I think we are getting stronger and stronger students. It's just maintaining, for me, that consistency of instruction. People will tell you, I think I have the right team in place to do that work. My teachers are definitely, I hold them to a high standard, and I like to salute them. And the teachers that are on the call, teachers in the building, we are working really hard to address not just the instructional gaps, but the whole child with the supports that we provide for them, with the support of our social worker, MTSS, our CELT, our counselor. So I'm excited about the potential movement, but really looking at everything. I see where we are. I see the instruction that's being delivered. I'm confident in the movement here. And that's what I like to lift. Any members of the team? I will mute myself.
Not at this time. Ms. St. Joy, is there anything else in your 45-day report?
No, we're going to go, the next slide is the strategic priorities. So we have discussed the information on this slide, and we have them ordered just kind of based under this initiatives that they follow, which is improve the students performing proficient, implement STEM engineering design program, full implementation of district initiatives, reduce barriers for school attendance and decrease chronic absenteeism, build teacher capacity, recommend highly qualified staff for vacant positions, and support social emotional behavior, mental well-being for students through PBIS and the BASC assessment. The BASC assessment is no longer with us, but it was with us when we wrote this plan. The strategies were all the things that we were going to do to support this. I emailed everybody a copy of this prior to the meeting. Please give me a thumbs up if you received that copy, because we'll be referring to this as we go to the slide. Okay, thank you. So for our discussion, and I'm going to come out of presentation mode, and as we talk, I'm going to drop the 2 questions in the chat because I'm going to type your responses to fill in this slide. But what progress has been made towards the priorities identified in our strategic plan, and what evidence do we have? That is the first question. And the second question is, based upon available data, are there other adjustments we need to make on the strategic plan? And I will drop that into the chat. Please tell me which question you're answering as I'll be typing in the other slide, and I will mute.
Okay, I'm going to. I'm so sorry. So sorry.
I think oh, sorry, go ahead, Ms. Clark.
Okay, there we go. Okay. So I'm answering as it pertains to what progress has been made towards the priorities. I'm focusing on which one was that? The building a culture of student support, reducing barriers to school attendance, and decreasing chronic absenteeism. I think that we are doing an excellent job with that. Our school social worker, Miss Freeman, has great monthly initiatives. She's also empowered me to do a classroom initiative for the last 2 weeks in December, because she did let us know on Friday that third grade is struggling with our attendance. We are actually one of the highest grade levels with the highest attendance rates right now. So we came up with an idea of how we're going to get the kids excited for MAP testing and just ensuring that they are here those next 2 weeks in December, to promote, coming to school on time every single day. And I think that that's something that we've been doing really good at.
As it relates to STEM, Dr. Woodbridge is really on top of partnerships. Every Friday, she gets to meet with teachers to work on integrating STEM more, and throughout the day. We actually have science fairs and investigations and There's so many components that she's elevating us all on, so that we can be a fully functioning STEM school later on. And so that is a huge increase even since last year, and she was already doing great things last year. I can also speak to high quality staff. I mean, I could be biased, but I think we have a great staff here. We have teachers who are passionate about students and who work really, really, really hard. They work hard in PLCs where if parent missteal, that's where they get a chance to practice lessons before they get to teach them. They look at data with coaches, the principals, and we didn't have a high turnover. I think we only had like 1 or 2 teachers leave last year, and so we get to keep continuing to build on what they already are able to do.
And I was gonna also add on to teacher capacity. I think as far as PLCs are concerned, I know last year our PLCs, we focused a lot on math and reading. I think this year we're ensuring that we are focusing on math and reading, but also integrating it in with science and social studies. So now in our meetings with our reading coaches, and now we have the science coaches, and then with math, we're also making sure that we use those learner profiles in our math standards. So I think we're doing a really good job at making sure that we hit all the content and that we're doing it effectively.
I know Miss Atkinson is taking notes, but I would like to add the work of our special education team, breakfast clubs, and I think that also echoes the high quality teachers. All of our special education teachers have a breakfast club. So the kids, although school doesn't start till 7:45, they're in classes with their special education teacher starting at 7:30, getting extra instructional support, and also the space in which the special education teachers can attend PLCs and or data meetings to collaborate with the teachers. I think that was an area of growth, and that everybody is all special education teachers are having the opportunity to collaboratively work with their general education core content teachers at some point, if not multiple points in the week. And I think that helps with the strategic and intentional planning.
I was gonna say that same thing, Ms. Joy. That is the lift that I had for this year. That being able to plan with my co-teacher has been a real plus this year.
Yay. I've got one other thing to lift, and I think we can move on to the next question if no one has anything else. As it relates to increasing the percentage of students becoming more proficient in reading and math, the whole school is doing this method called the slow down word problem method, and that we're basically chunking paragraphs. And so you're using ELA annotations and such to solve math problems and to really reason and understand and comprehend. And I think that's going to help build better readers as well. Now we can move on to the next question. Based upon available data, are there any adjustments we need to make to this strategic plan? I have a question, Ms. St. Joyce. So I noticed that where it says school strategies, I know this was completed before I arrived in this position, but I
Mhm.
noticed that there's some platforms that we don't use. Does that need to change or should it stay?
So we can just remove that verbiage if we don't have it, like we don't have the BASC. So that's something that I know I will remove after this meeting. That was something we did under previous administration that's no longer here. But when we implemented the plan, it was here.
Correct. So I guess just note, please, Secretary, we are no longer using Freckle, Eureka, or Mastery Connect. Ms. Steele, a question for you. So I see it says, increase parent communication, invite parents to come to parent meetings and academic teacher teams night. As a parent, is there anything that you feel we could do to get more parents to come out and be as engaged as you are?
I'm not sure of a way to get them invested. Maybe if the students are motivated more to kind of push their parents to come, if that makes sense. I guess the way I'm trying to explain it, like for instance, Erin, she always says, Mom, we have a meeting tonight. And maybe if they can get like, if you bring your parent tonight, you can get an extra ticket or something like that towards a prize or something to kind of motivate the student to kind of push their parents more, maybe.
Well, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
And
She wrote it down.
yeah, and I think that we do that with APTT night. The teachers do have an option for the students to create their own personal invitation to their parents.
Mm-hmm.
And we've also tried to, when we send those APTT letters home, that we put, if a parent can't come, who from your family can come? So
Right.
families are represented.
Right. So I was just thinking if the kid is more motivated and kind of like bugging their parents to come, that'll kind of motivate the parents to come more too. So.
So we can put down to incentivize students, they can earn something here at school, or like you said, an extra ticket, and then a raffle is done, and then that family wins something. So this is a good start.
Okay.
If there are no other comments about the strategic plan, we'll move on and give it back to Ms. St. Joy.
All right. So this is what I captured. School social worker has put monthly recognition in place, use data to target grade levels that need the most support. Partnerships have been established for STEM. Teachers are making weekly STEM, meeting weekly with STEM specialists to support full STEM implementation. High quality staff in place in class, PLCs, after schools meeting, data analysis, minimal turnover. We ensure that lesson integrations are taking place across subject areas. Co-teacher and general education teacher are working collaboratively. Slow down, word problem method is working in math. For the second question, remove programs that are no longer in use, and how can we use students? It was more or less a question. How can we use students? How can we include students in parent conversations? And I say, can we incentivize students /family with prize for attending? Please excuse my typo. Did that capture everything?
I think
Okay.
so.
Strategic updates. So I will add those changes. I don't think it changes our measure of accountability because it's more or less that we highlighted things that we're already doing and we're removing things that we're not. So I think it's just staying in consistency with our plan. Does anyone disagree? Okay. So okay. The GoTeam needs to take action to vote on updates to strategic plan. So the updates that we talked about in the previous slide. After a motion and a second, the GoTeam may have additional discussion. Once the discussion is concluded, the GoTeam will vote.
I move that we vote to approve the updated strategic plan. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Or
Aye.
raise your hand. Any abstentions? Okay. We'll now move on with St. Joy.
In preparation for the 25-26 budget development in January through March, the GoTeam needs to rank its strategic priorities. Use the next slide to capture the priority rankings. So with those strategic priorities I sent you is essentially 7 items. They're asking us to rank it in order of what we really want our budget to focus on. Last year, so hold on, let me go back to this. So essentially taking these, which is 7 things, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and putting them in order. Last year, we started with this right here in 1 and 2 because we felt like it fed down into everything else. Also, just a tidbit, this stuff right here, not the PBIS, but social emotional behavior, mental disorder, as long as the district funds those wraparound services, those are not something that personally comes out of our budget. But if we wanted to add things to that, we would enhance the budget. But last year we looked at the human assets first, which is the equipping and empowering leaders, school and staff, and funneling our funds there. And then we ranked everything else under there. That might not be what this team decides, but just providing context. So when we got to the budget in January and we discussed it, we kept in mind that number 1 was recommend highly qualified staff for vacant positions, and then 2, build teacher capacity. So through that was really the funding of our teachers and our instructional coaches were the first 2 things we looked at. And then we went down on the other things to discuss. So that's why I also emailed it to you because it was too hard to toggle between slides. But I'm going to come out of the presentation. And this is an opportunity for us to discuss.
So I think that building teacher capacity in core content areas should be number 1, because while we have a really great team, there's still work to be done. And specifically thinking about engagement. When I listen to Miss Steele and getting the kids more excited, if we can help teachers get the content under control even more, but then increase that engagement, then kids would want to come to school even more. And then they'd want to have their parents come and see the great, cool things that they're doing in class. So I think if we hit that, we'll hit parental support as well. We'll also hit achievement and proficiency because the kids will be able to receive the lessons better because they're more engaged in the lessons. So that's my vote.
I'm just listening to you guys talk, and then I will rank them based on what I hear you guys saying, but we have to rank all of them. And then so I'm gonna mute myself so I can listen and capture it, and then I'll show you guys what you guys said, and we'll see if like that's the order, excuse me, that we're comfortable with.
What are you guys' number ones?
I think I agree that that can be the number one because I think if you're building teacher capacity, then that's going to ultimately help you improve the percent of students achieving. And then and it also kind of feeds into building a culture of student support. Like if kids understand like how they're coming to school every day and they're getting high quality teaching that's engaging, then they'll come to school each day. I think like it's what do they call it? A ripple effect. Definitely number one. Number two,
Does anyone disagree with building teacher capacity and increasing student engagement being the number one?
So my only thought, and I don't have a vote in this, I would make that number 2 and put hiring highly qualified staff. Because although I expect all my beautiful people to stay with me forever and ever as long as I'm principal, if we're not here and we lose somebody, I want to get the strongest, most coachable person first. I also want to ensure that I have the funding to keep the people here. I also want to ensure that we have funding to pay for supplemental duties that teachers may do. So, for example, we have teachers leading vertical alignment based on last year's budget. I'm able to give them a small stipend because we kind of allotted for that. I'm able to allot people that kind of, coach the sports teams that we have, or excuse me, we have dance teams. But, they're able to get an extra little allotment financially. So when I say highly qualified, I'm thinking coachable. I'm thinking the total teacher that's going to work and really buy into our community. And once we have that person in place, we then build their capacity. Because if for some reason we lose 5 teachers, and I don't want to do that, it's really hard to hire people. But that's the reality. I want to make sure we have the best and the right person in place because the work that we do here is very unique. Some of the teachers at Hutchinson cannot teach everywhere, or vice versa. So that's the only reason why I think that hiring first, although it would default to number 2 though, if I don't have to hire anybody, automatically make number 2 number 1, but I want to have the right person, and that's just my thought on it. But between 1 and 2, I think it's the human assets first.
I agree. I think logically that makes sense. So first, technically, high quality staff. Then number 2, build teacher capacity. And number 3, I'm kind of stuck on number 3.
I think number 3 might need to be the 2, implement STEM engineering because we want to be STEM certified. STEM certification is not the only goal because STEM integration helps learning be more engaging and more fun for students. So, Miss Steele, that looks like if I'm teaching science about rocks and in math they're learning about, I don't know, decimals. Well, maybe you organize the rocks that are hottest in decimal form to grade, whatever the case is, but you're integrating science and math or science and ELA so that the kids are getting like double doses of the content. So if we increase our STEM capabilities, then I think that will lead to increased engagement, increased scores.
Makes sense.
So then implementing the STEM, and then that also improves the percent of students achieving at proficient and distinguished level.
Yeah, I feel like it's gonna, like you said, that ripple effect.
Yeah,
So do you think that should be number 4?
I think so. I think so. Because I'm looking for
So I
just-
think that
mm, that district intervention.
the the assumption the assumption that that makes is that the STEM implementation is going to improve the other academics. And although we are STEM certified, the state doesn't necessarily, we get a state recognition, but the state doesn't say, hey, they implemented STEM. And so we're assuming that if we implement this, it will affect that. And that's why we put it at number 4.
Mhm.
Correct. But I'm also looking at the intervention initiative. So are we meeting the needs of our students who need additional support? That also helps increase proficiency. So maybe
So
that's
point of
what-
clarification,
Mhm.
special ed team, I don't pay for them. They are paid from a different budget. So we get special ed, we have Miss Akithia, and our special ed teachers are paid for out of a completely, but like we get an allotment. So the district looks at kind of what we have going on, what is written in their IEPs. The special education teachers will have this big push toward the end of January to make sure kind of everything's in place because the department says, A, you keep what you have, B, you earn somebody else. C, you don't have enough and we're going to remove somebody, but we as a school don't pay for that. Same thing with ESOL. We get an allotment for that and they tell us. So I don't know if you guys know, but we actually have a 0.3 of a person. She comes for an hour, but that's based on the allotment, but that's not something that directly comes out of the pot of money that they give us, the general education teachers do.
Was meaning it more for like EIP. It'd be really cool if we could buy an EIP teacher to support the intervention for students who are struggling and we have so much the Red Sea. It'd be great.
Red Sea.
So you have 3 more based on what you've said so far, and I'll show you what you have.
What about the support for social and emotional pay system? I know we have PBIS in place, but just kind of pouring into, we have so many students that are transient students, and so you have to deal with a lot of emotional and behavioral things. So I don't know. I think that should be up there.
Mhm.
That one's huge.
Real
I
big.
guess I wasn't looking at it because I was thinking, oh, we don't need more money for this, but maybe we do because we could use it for PBIS initiatives, more like celebrations, the house system things that we want to do that we don't have enough money for. If we
Can't use
ramped up,
federal funds for that.
Oh, man.
even though Georgia's moving to, okay.
As of right now, you cannot use your federal taxpayer funds for that. That's outside fundraising. So there may be certain PBIS that fall under an educational umbrella, but like awards day, certificates, all those things are the outside fundraising that we do. Federal Title I funds can't be used for that.
Then I'm not really sure how why is this in the budget section? I guess, I'm trying to think like if we're not going to spend money on it because we're not given the rights to do that.
So when this came out, it's still saying it's an initiative, but all that translates to meaning is I would put that at the end because it's still something that we're focusing on, even if we can't spend extra money on it. So when the team created this, they said we still need to spend time on the social emotional learning, PBIS, and at the time we had BAS. That's something that we need to intentionally do. If we remove it from this plan, we're kind of saying we're not going to do anything but SEL because that's a district initiative. But we, in addition here, do PBIS implementation and saying that that's a priority, but in terms of funding, it may go at the bottom because we can't really spend money as freely on that, if that makes sense.
Okay. Okay, so what about like social skills training? There's a handful of kids who need literal social skills training. They don't know how to make friends, so they are rude or cruel, or they get bullied because they don't know how to stand up for themselves. And I know a long time ago, I was at a school where they did social skills training, and they had a school psychologist that had a group, just like a counselor might have a group, but it was for specific kids. Could have been for kids who are on the spectrum and have Asperger's. Like, how do you have conversations with kids? Could we buy a person, like a behavior specialist, who could
So a person
help us?
costs about $150,000. A person costs about $150,000, but that would be something later on, but keep that in mind, everybody. You may see a posted salary for somebody, but you're also paying that salary and benefits in there. So if that is something that you wanted to allot, like your human assets, more than likely based on previous budgets, you would either have to A, give up your materials and supplies, or B, give up a teacher, and you could put that person in place. An extra behavior specialist.
Oh, I have a question. What if we don't get anybody that skilled? Maybe we could just get someone who would sit in the opportunity room? Would they
So
cost
it
less?
depends on the, like if it was a paraprofessional, that's about $60,000.
Noted.
I think maybe we put a pin in this for another time, but I think it's really important for us to make sure we're spending some resources. I'm not sure how, right? On the social, emotional, behavioral well-being of the students and staff. But I'm not really sure what that looks like right now. I don't know if this is the time to do it, but I
So I
do
don't,
think this
no,
could be
it's
it.
not. We just have to rank the priorities. Right now, when we get the actual budget, that may shift. Because if we lose 45 kids on the projected budget, there are some other drastic cuts. The reality is when I walked into Hutchinson my first year, it was a $600,000 deficit that I had to budget. My second year, it was $300,000 negative that I had to budget. And last year, it was just under $200,000 that I had to budget. So quite honestly, the majority of our budget is spent on the humans that are in here currently.
Okay. Well, based on this conversation and what Ms. Sullivan said, let's put this above STEM, and then STEM can follow the SEL. And then maybe, I'm not sure what's left actually.
I'm about to show you what you have.
I I thought the intervention was gonna be after number 3, but I could be wrong.
You said put it before STEM.
The
Support social, emotional, and behavior, mental well-being of students and staff through PBIS and BASC, which we're
Oh,
removing
sorry, not
BASC.
that one. I mean the full implementation of district intervention initiative. But I mean, I'm not tied to it.
You're saying that be number 3?
Yes.
Okay.
And then the last one can be the school attendance, because this year
Hold
is
on, let me clarify. You're
okay.
saying the district initiative should be number 6. Is that what you're saying, or it should be number 3?
Number 3, and then scoot everything down. And the final one, attendance, just because the measures taking place this year are getting the kids excited more than I saw last year. And I have high hopes that it'll be better than it was last year based on what's being done currently this year. So now that we have it and it's front and in center, is there anybody who disagrees with the ranking so far? We are going to come back to it in January. All right. Thank you for your engagement.
So the Go Team needs to take action on this ranked strategic plan priorities. After the motion and the second, the Go Team may have additional discussion. Once the discussion is concluded, the Go Team will vote.
I move that, go ahead. I move that we approve the strategic plan priority ranking.
I second.
Thank you, Ms. Steele. All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay.
Aye.
Aye. Any abstentions? All right.
At our next meeting, we will begin to discuss the 25-26 budget. Let me or the chair know if you have any additional information that you would like to further discuss. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. St. Joy. At this time, we will move on to information items. First is the principal's report.
All right, principal's report is short. We have STEM night this week, Thursday from 4 to 6. Thanksgiving break from November 25th to 29th. MAP testing will take place December 2nd through 13th, and winter break will be December 23rd through January 3rd. And the most important thing that we need right now, we need your babies here after those breaks. Going back to attendance being a barrier, our attendance has historically dipped after Thanksgiving break and after January break. So we want to make sure that the kids are coming back ready to learn. And that concludes the principal's report.
At this time, I would open the floor for public comment, but as I see, there is no one else from the public here, so we will move on. Does anyone have any announcements for the good of the group? Okay. Well, we have reached the end of our agenda. Is there any additional business at this time? I'd just like to announce I'm very proud of us as a Go Team. We did it. I did better this time, and so did our secretary. And thank you all for your engagement. And Ms. Steele, so glad to have a parent to have some influence. Okay, I'm done being mushy now. Okay.
I
May
was
I
like,
have a
move to
mo-
close.
Okay.
Like, move to
She's
close.
my parent. She's my parent. So
May I have a motion to adjourn? What'd you say, Miss Steele?
No, she said, that's my parent. I say, that's right, Miss Clark.
May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? All
I
right,
motion to adjourn this meeting.
a second.
I second.
All right, all in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? Any abstentions? The meeting is adjourned.